All right. So welcome. This is the Pokemon X and Y discussion. Kind of wanted to just put this out there, considering the game's been out for a while. There may be some spoilers, considering we're going to be discussing some of the actual story, some of the things that kind of transpire. We'll try and give some kind of almost like the Grand Theft Auto discussion, like, hey, we're getting into spoilers, and then just kind of mute it. Then, like, if you see thumbs up or something else, you'll know you're in the safe zone. But I mean, it's pretty unanimous so far, at least, especially to people who haven't really even played Pokemon before. This is by far probably the best release of the series so far. And joining me, I have Kain, aka Nate, or actually Nate, aka Kain. Kain bringing the pain, Pain bringing the Nate.
Yeah.
Wise Nate. I have MarkCrownStories,
Woo!
and my friend John, who just doesn't have a Twitter because he can't be bothered. Or any kind of
you gonna
YouTube
learn
stuff.
today.
And they're going to be joining me as part of this discussion. We're going to just kind of go over just the history, again, the game, story, new features, and just kind of what we thought of it, and even just possibly even the future of where the Pokemon's going to be going with the current way they have it set up in their direction. And just kind of as a background, I mean, I've been playing. The first game I've actually played was when I was a lot younger. Was Pokemon Red around the time it first came out. I was actually lucky enough, because usually I don't get systems when they first come out. I got a little Game Boy and ended up getting Pokemon Red, and my brother ended up getting Pokemon Blue, of course, because he always has to get the opposite. Nate is actually new. This is your first Pokemon, right?
Correct. I don't know when Pokemon came out, because I think a wee bit older than the other gents in this discussion. I was a teenager and just under the whole assumption, oh, that's for kids. Faggots. So I never messed with it, and even at that time anyways, I just wasn't really into RPGs that much anyway, so it was just a bad choice on my part, really.
That makes sense. And Mark, when was the first Pokemon game you played?
I think the first one was I played was actually I borrowed Pokemon Yellow, I think.
So you got the game where you get all the starters.
Yeah, I think that's the one I played. I can't be certain because I don't think the first Pokemon I borrowed it. I had also Game Boy, but I didn't get that game because I only had older Game Boy games my dad had gotten me. So yeah, I think it was Pokemon Yellow.
Okay, and then John, of course, when did you start out? I'm probably gonna guess probably Red as well.
No, I started out in the first gen for Red and Blue, but my first one was Blue. I picked up the Blue version.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Shut up. Red is male, Blue is better. You know it. So go back with your Snorlax and go to bed.
Hey, you laugh. OP Snorlax.
OP
Devastates.
Snorlax. Okay.
That's actually what people know him as. It's a hashtag on Facebook. OP Snorlax.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so Pokemon's been around for a while. I mean, like Nate pointed out, there's a lot of common misconceptions that unfortunately a lot of people, were perpetuating, that it is just a game solely for kids. I mean, at the beginning, it's still, I mean, even with kind of some of the cutesy monsters that they have, is aimed more to a child, audience, but there's definitely a lot of mature, subjects even from the first gen that were kind of in there that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the Pokedex entries, like a Cubone, it wears the skull of its dead mother.
Yeah.
It's not exactly something you really want a kid to see or trying to discuss
Pretty
with
dark.
a child.
Yeah.
Or even just when you went into Pokemon Tower and it's nothing but Pokemon graves and you're fighting against ghosts and ghost Pokemon. And so
That's some heavy shit, man.
yeah,
They also
Yeah.
had a lot of guys looking into gyms. Oh, there's full of females. I like this.
yeah. I mean, there's some adult jokes that are in there. Like more recently, I think it was in Black and White. If you were in the main town and you speak to one woman, if it's late at night, and she's like, "A lady of the night like me has to something something something," and as a lot of people know, "lady of the night" is another term for
Hooker.
a prostitute.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's not what they were going for. It might have been just like poor translation, or may even just been a joke on the developer's part. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, even with just a lot of the other teams, I mean, from Team Rocket, which kind of just started off with, oh, we just want to steal Pokemon, and we're basically the equivalent of poachers and thieves, and went even further than that, like, oh, okay, we want to go ahead and completely make the Earth nothing but Earth. Like, there's no water anymore, so everything's going to die, or we just want the whole world to be water. And then you had, another team that just wanted to wipe out all existence because screw existing for some stupid reason. Or even like with Black and White, they kind of even took a turn kind of looking at Pokemon as nothing more than glorified cockfighting. To where it's just, are they nothing more than tools?
It's not.
It's so.
It is glorified cockfighting. It is glorified cockfighting.
To you, my Pokemons are my friends.
Oh yeah.
Well, the thing is about it all is like they want to get the picture for everyone that the Pokemon actually wants to do it. That's the...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it definitely kind of poked fun at PETA too, which in the end you come to find out that the organization really didn't give two shits about Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's kind of some of the inconsistencies, which are kind of funny, and I'm not sure if they ever really do it on purpose or not. But you actually have, like the whole thing with Team Plasma, to where they're like, oh yeah, well, we're using Pokemon's wrong, yet they fight with Pokemon. Or even more recently, with Team Flare, their whole thing is, okay, well, we want to go ahead and we want to wipe out all of the evil in this world, but we only want to go ahead and wipe out all the other evil except for ourselves, because we want only Team Flare to exist. So it's like, okay, you want to wipe out the world because you think it's bad, but then you want to exist in only yourselves, which is kind of greedy.
Yeah.
And your justification is because you guys are stylish.
That's the French for you.
It's true, though. But
Hey,
those
yeah.
kind of rational inconsistencies are always funny, especially with how they did all that. I mean, as far as the game is concerned, what did you guys like out of it?
The game in general. How?
Yeah, just as far as Pokemon X and Y,
I-
we're gonna kind of just jump straight into that now.
Yeah, I really liked the game. I really thought the addition with the experience share how it works now is really good. But they missed to make the other Pokemons a little bit higher level. That was their biggest mistake. And for me, it's a little bit sad that they. I mean, I feel like if they tested the game and went through the whole game, I feel like they should have noticed that you were so over leveled if you just went.
You're just leveling up way too quickly
Yeah.
between different trainer fights and even just going against other Pokemon. Not to mention they award you experience for everything now, even
Yeah.
catching Pokemon.
Yeah,
Everything.
well, it makes
Yeah,
sense
capture.
really if you get experience if you catch a Pokemon as well because you have
Yeah,
actually
because
battled it.
you're still fighting, they're still doing something.
Yeah, I have to say that I liked the game overall, but I thought it was great for someone who spends a lot of time, grinding out his team and getting, those Pokemon level 100, getting the moves right, how you want them, getting the stats right to how you want them. But it took away from kind of the challenge of the game. Just being able to kind of walk into a gym and really not having an issue at all. I don't think at any point in time going through the game that I ever feel underpowered in a gym. Actually, I felt the opposite. I felt overpowered
Yeah.
when I went through the gyms.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Even getting to the Elite Four felt the same way.
you could have beaten the game with only. I would say you don't even have to have a full party to beat the game. You only have to have 3 Pokemons, and then you could
Yeah, I beat it with
probably
4.
just beat. Yeah, I mean, I kind of did the same thing. I almost just beat it with 2 of my Pokemon because there was no reason for me to put out the rest of my Pokemons. So I was like, okay, if I just beat it with those 2, why the hell should I use the rest? So yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean, Nate, you jumped in at a time to where, with EXP share, it is just like it sounds like. Before, the way it used to work is you would have to sit there, go between all your different party members, put them in front, so they're the ones that get the experience doing all the fighting. Kind of do it over and over again, because you were usually, at least at the beginning, and as it kind of worked its way down, it became the opposite. But you were usually at a disadvantage in regards to level, as to where now, like. Both Mark and John pointed out, it was just completely the opposite. It was like a raffle stomp, like the moment you walked in there. I mean, and the funny thing is like, all right, a lot of people are like, well, then turn off the XP share. But at the same time, it just makes it so nice and convenient.
yeah.
And I really think the reason why they did is something like John and I discussed out of this actual discussion before, which is they were really focusing more on the metagame. It's for the people who don't really play online against one another. They kind of want to make things easier for people to get to their level 100 Pokemon and be able to get online and try and experience that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things. Oh, go ahead.
But the problem is, like, from what I've heard from people who really are going for getting to level 100, the only way to, like, practice is going beating the Elite Four over and over and over again. So, I mean, that's a problem in itself, that they really haven't done a good job of like having content when you're done with the game to get. I mean, if you're interested, if you want more people to get to level 100, you would expect them to have more content after the game, or just have a place where you put trainers everywhere, just an area where you can more easier level up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but some of the post game content is you're put onto an island to where you have the friend safari, which I will probably go in a little more depth in later, but to where they easily could have put trainers that you could fight against, kind of like the upper echelon of trainers, to try and continue to level and get closer to that level 100 instead of having to do the same old strategy that's been since the very beginning, which is fight the Elite Four repetitively, just over and over again to get there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even I think Diamond, Platinum, Pearl probably had some of the best post game events and stuff like that, because they had that island where it's kind of similar to the city that you get later, where they have tournaments. Even though a lot of it didn't have to do with actual EXP, but at least it had like certain in-game stuff, not even online tournaments or anything like that. But you could fight some of the old school trainers and stuff like that were in the previous gens.
Yeah, there was that nice little homage to the previous games, which I thought was always cool. They always have nice little references. Even XY, they talk about the Hoenn region, the Shinoa region. I think there's even a reference to Kanto. Actually, as a matter of fact, the entire beginning of the game just felt like a nostalgia trip to Viridian Forest and kind of like the whole intro to what Red and Blue was.
Yeah. And I also want to add something about this is kind of part of the story, but still it tries to be how I felt. The game wants you to go on a journey. So, like, you have this feeling, at least in the beginning part of it, you're going on this long journey and you're trying to beat all these gyms, and sort of like your character meets all these new friends and stuff, and you're supposed to go on a journey with them. But the problem is with the experience share, and you're getting so overpowered and stuff, it's all moves forward so fast. So it's never really feels like you're on this journey, which why I felt like until the story picked up in the later stages of the game, I felt like I was just powering through the game instead of like experience it really.
Yeah, I guess before we kind of jump into the story, Nate, we kind of just overpowered you. You had something you wanted to say in regards to like the metagame and just the game itself.
Well, and for me, even though, I mean, obviously I haven't played none of the other Pokemon games, so I can't reference how it was before, but even how it is now, I feel a lot of the misconception of, who Pokemon is actually intended for is actually done by, who is it that makes it? The Pokemon Company? Are they the actual developers, or is it?
Oh, it's Game Freak.
Game Freak.
Game Freak is the one that makes it.
I think a lot of that's actually caused by them, because even though from what you guys are saying it's actually easier than the other ones, I truly don't see like the average child like around like 5 or 6 like picking this up and actually playing it. It clearly it's intended for a more skilled child, and then obviously they know that there's a handful of adults that still play Pokemon. So for me, I wish there would have been
more difficult settings.
Like, not necessarily like more adult-oriented stuff, but just like here's one thing: everywhere you go, 90% of the people are talking about fucking Pokemon. Like, is that all you fucking like everywhere? Like, they revolve around Pokemon. It would have been nice, like because it's a role-playing game. It would have been nice, like, just to have somebody else like talk about like some other shit, or like it did not feel immersive. It felt like I was going from point A to point B doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Hey man, did you catch Sharknado on Sci-Fi the other day?
Yeah.
To see like casual conversations. I mean, yeah, most of the conversation does revolve around Pokemon. There's other things that don't, but it's usually far and few in between.
Well, it can revolve around Pokemon, but there's so many different uses of Pokemon. They should have more those types of conversation where, I mean, like the milk tank, how that had its uses, and like all these Pokemon have different
uses. It heals itself drinking its own milk. Just put that in your mind there for a second.
I think I have to say what Kane's actually really wanting is like news reports that happens, like how we have mad cow disease, freaking milk tank goes crazy.
Mad milk tank disease.
You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that kind of needed to happen in this
Or you have like Pokemon going crazy, just
it didn't feel
whatever.
like it was alive. Like even what Mark was saying, I mean, that's pretty much what the story is. You're set out to go on your own adventure, but it doesn't really feel like an adventure. It just feels like a routine. Like you're just going out, you catch, you train, you get your badges, and that's...
Compare that to the other... At least I haven't played Black and White and Diamond and Pearl. I think I played back...
This definitely felt more rushed. I will agree with you on that. Actually, having played Black and White... I didn't play Black and White 2 because I just felt like skipping it. To me, it felt like a rehash of the previous game with just additional content. Not something that would be really good. You played it, though. What would you say about Black and White?
Yeah, I did play Black and White, too. I agree with you. I think it was pretty much just a rehash of Black and White, added a few different things, and they added in a mystery of the previous trainer in Black and White that you don't know where they went or anything like that, and they really don't even cover it. So even though they try to put that small note of, like, extra story, they never really go into it. But just some of the extra added Pokemon were pretty cool, and the change of the landscape also added a little bit extra, but again, not that much. It felt like it could have been downloadable content or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, at least with, I would feel with Pokemon XY, it definitely felt like it was a little bit more rushed in terms of story. Or at least you really didn't feel like there was much of a story until you got later into the game.
I actually didn't care for the story in this one. Like
I kind of liked it to some degree.
The cutscene made me a little bit more interested in it, but before that, it just felt so weird. It's just, oh, we're friends. Oh, yes, we're friends.
Yeah.
Just going on this.
So this is kind of where we're going to get into spoilers. So anybody who's kind of watching this on YouTube or even just watching it now live, this would be the time to hit the mute button. We'll give, like I said, the little thumbs up or something like that.
Well, I haven't
Unfortunately,
beat it, so I'm gonna mute it too.
yeah, that's fine, Nate. You can go ahead and mute it too.
Yeah.
You go ahead, like I said, just watch it. You're watching the stream anyways, so. All right, this is where we're gonna get into it. And as far as the story with the whole the king and the machine,
That fell
actually
off horribly.
I liked that one moment that they actually, dived into that, to where they kind of went more into detail, like Mark said, when you actually saw the cutscene describing what happened in the past. And it was kind of interesting that Pokemon weren't really held in Pokeballs. It's just like through sheer determination and badassery that you had trainers that they weren't even really considered trainers. They're considered like comrade in arms. You had Pokemon and people fighting against Pokemon and people. There's like the whole kingdoms. I thought that was really cool. And then you had the crazy alchemist. I'm just going to call him an alchemist because that looks like some straight up alchemy stuff that he actually used to create all that.
Yeah.
And his whole concept of what equivalent exchange was, the death of a whole bunch of Pokemon just to resurrect his.
AC or something like
AZ. Yeah, they never really
AZ.
gave him like a real
name.
name. They just called him AZ.
And he
which
was
they
fucking
really
tall.
should have. He was stupidly tall.
What
They
the
never they never really explained that. And not that it needed an explanation, but it still needed an explanation.
Yeah, why did it survive for all those years?
And the funny thing is there was that he survived because of his Pokemon.
Yeah.
They did talk about that.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. Like, if you were skipping through the conversation, which most people were, because they're like, all right, let me get back to the other stuff, because they weren't really as attached to the story as maybe previous games, which is unfortunate, because it was kind of the pacing was off. It was horribly off. It was like nothing, throw all of it at you at once. And then it's over, and it's nothing. Like, even the introduction of AZ, all right, yes, everybody talked about the war that happened in the past, but it was just so little detail that was given, other than just Pokemon fought, and then it ended because of a machine. And then they show you what happened, that the war was fought. He wasn't a part of the war, but unfortunately his Pokemon was. He lost it, so he sacrificed the lives of thousands of Pokemon and people, absorbed their life force to bring back his Pokemon, and then he became bitter about it all and became evil, and this Pokemon's like, yeah, you can go ahead and kick rocks, I'm done with you.
Here is where I think they should have done it a different way. They should have done it more in the style of a war is brewing. I mean, if you're gonna
like history repeating itself.
Yeah, I can
that would
agree
be
with that.
so much cooler and so much more oh shit stuff. That stuff could already be happening in the beginning.
They could have, and I absolutely agree with you, that would have been great. I think the only reason why they kind of throttled that back is because the fact that they are still trying to aim, at least to some extent, to kids. So,
but that's
already having like the war and everything is already, I guess, what they thought was enough. But I mean,
Yeah.
if you're already going to go that far now, I agree. Why not just take it all the way?
Yeah.
And have just a full-on war brewing, and then you're the one that kind of has to try and stop this war from happening.
Yeah.
Or even the machine is meant to absorb all the life force when all the Pokemon are fighting in a given area. Like the main guy was waiting for that to happen. And again, just team flares.
Yeah.
They're just whole idea. Like almost every other organization is so flawed. It seems like everybody is just a screw up compared to Team Rocket. At least Team Rocket was focused. They knew what they wanted to do.
No, that's because of Giovanni, man. Giovanni.
yeah.
Giovanni was a boss.
Giovanni
literally.
was a boss.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with having a person like Lisandre, who is just you know that he's the bad guy, and
I knew right off the bat.
Yeah,
It was
and that's-
pretty obvious.
and that's the problem itself. You don't see Giovanni, do you? Straight off.
No, no, you don't. The first few times you run into Team Rocket, it's just Team Rocket.
Yeah.
You do run into Giovanni later on once, and then you see him again when you go to take him on at the gym,
Yeah.
which you're actually surprised to figure out he's not only the Team Rocket leader, but
Yeah.
he's also the final gym leader you fight against. So that
Yeah.
was a nice little touch on their part to do that.
I mean,
And I mean, I think they would need to do is just take the story from the original games. I'm not trying to be a Gen 1 purist. Gen 1 had its flaws.
Yeah.
Take the gameplay of now, Pokemon X and Y, which I think they, besides some of the additions that were unnecessary, I think gameplay-wise, they've got it where it needs to be. Story-wise, they need to kind of go from scratch, from the original Pokemon games, to kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for them to do something comparable to Gold and Silver. To me, I thought that was a really good transition from the game, because it did what kind of everyone wants right now, which is give me a new place, give me new Pokemon, give me a connecting story, and then bring me back to some of the old regions to like reminisce
Definitely.
on some of that.
Definitely.
I mean, I like the aspect of how we were talking earlier about, immediately from the start you're going into a forest and feels like you're taking the same route as Gen 1, but I thought that I was really hoping that X and Y would kind of go into that. Here's a new region, and let's start bringing this world, around. Let's start bringing this kind of together. Or even if they wanted to start off on this, like, have a more in-depth storyline that maybe connected some of the other regions and not just this.
Yeah, and that would be a good post content as well. I mean, that would have solved. I mean, that's why I feel like now that I'm done with the game, I was like, okay, there's the train ticket to not new place. Okay, I'm go there, and I was like,
Yeah, have trainers to fight against. Or do
and
something.
I was like, what the hell is this? This is barely anything really for me. Who I'm not the person who really likes to level to 100.
Yeah.
A person who would like to just
More of a challenge.
Yeah.
Just something afterwards to be doing.
yeah.
Bring back Red. Bring back freaking Blue. Green.
Fight the previous
them all back.
champions. Go through the gauntlet.
Not just
Yeah.
that. Like, it would have
They
been
could
great
be
just
gym
to kind of
leaders.
see them.
All the other, it could be like gym
Yeah.
leaders, and that's
Well,
sort of
Well,
the best
technically he was
characters.
Gym leader, but
Well, I mean, look at it this way, though. At least now this is kind of out there. They know it's successful. They at least know that gameplay-wise, with the exception of EXP share and a few other features, that it's pretty solid. So maybe, given the newer technology, because they have the 3DS, which actually really isn't much different than DS in terms of tech, whether they want to say so or not, maybe they can expand on it. Maybe make the game a little bit longer, maybe multi-regions, because I know that's what everybody wants. Everybody already has their other wish come true, which is the ability to mess around with your character. I know that's something I've been dying to do for a while, as well as the fact that now it's actual full-on 3D everything.
it's okay. We all know that you wanted to play dress up.
Yeah,
I did.
we are.
Good
I
job.
told you, man. I live vicariously through like all of my characters
Customization.
because I can't do all the crazy stuff in games you can do in real life. At least now legally. I think we're done as far as these spoiler stories.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that AZ was lame and he only popped up twice,
Yeah, I think
and he was
I
actually
think
supposed to be a main part of it all.
Yeah, thought he seemed like kind of cool. So compared, they should have.
Yeah.
They should have been like Team Flare should be maybe the first part of the story, and then you go back
Yeah,
to.
almost like chapters.
Yeah.
To where and then you're fighting against AZ, and you have to, and almost even in an end style way, fight him to prove you care about Pokemon or whatever, or that he should care about Pokemon, or he should care about the world, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and at this point. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let Nate know in the chat. Is it really awful lag? That's funny because I have Xfinity. Oh, there you go. That's the reason why Xfinity. But it should be super fast internet. I'm supposed to have like 11 megabytes per second upload and like 50 download. So it's got to be OBS then. I'm probably have to tamper with that. But anyways, we should have Nate back. I did the thumbs up. All right. Gameplay features. I would say one of my favorite things is super training. Not only because of the fact that it makes, EV training ridiculously easy and the fact that it's able to be tracked, but the mini games are just really addictive and fun.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't care at all because I usually don't care about EV training and that sort of stuff. So that's just my opinion. I just like to. Oh,
Yeah, it's because that's usually going to be something that you would see. It's more metagame as far as playing online than it is just standard game. Because if you try and do it in the standard game, you think you're like kicking the ass of Pokemon already. Imagine what it would have been if
yeah.
you would have super trained all of it. Who agrees that Pokemon Ami was just definitely for
Kids.
people who like cutesy things and kids and just not anything that anybody really wanted.
Maybe the Japanese people like those stuff. I don't know.
There we go. Come back.
Yeah.
I would be honest, they didn't even fucking work. Like, I would be trying to pet them, and it, like, halfway through, like, an actual petting them, like, it would register as a smack. So, like, I was, like, some stupid fucking Pokemon trainer, so...
Nate's really into that S&M. He'd be stroking his Pokemon and then slapping them and then stroking
So, like,
them.
I was trying to be all gentle and shit, but I just ended up being, like, a complete asshole, but I don't know. it just didn't really ever work. I didn't see...
Yeah, that. I agree. I kind of don't like the whole thing. Like, let's play stroke your Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say that would probably be helpful is for certain Pokemon who will only evolve based off a certain level of happiness. That'd probably be the quickest way to do that without having to actually level them and fight with them.
Yeah.
But even then, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. But everybody can agree, not as bad as the Pokemon PR videos. With the exception of the hilarious and sometimes creepy videos people have come up with online. If you haven't seen so yourself, definitely go ahead and just look up Pokemon PR videos and just get ready for the lulz.
Yeah, that's just a weird feature, you know. I mean, for me, the feature I found the best so far is Wonder Trade. I mean, I've gotten so many Pokemon I probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise because I haven't really played any of the other games or anything like that. So getting Pokemons like, for me, like just Pinsir or Eevee or whatever like that, it's worked great for me.
Yeah. And I mean, also, even besides that, the entire just PSS system itself. It's either PPS or PSS, I forget.
PSS.
But just with the O powers.
O powers make everything.
Oh,
That's another thing that makes everything so OP.
yeah, because you're just sitting there. You can go ahead and give somebody a heal in the middle of a battle. They can go ahead and earn more money, capture Pokemon easier, and so on. But, oh yeah, Friend Safari. That's something that I kind of like what they've added to it. Now, that's something you can only get post-game. You have to actually beat the Elite Four before you can make it to that island. Not really a spoiler because it doesn't involve the story that much. But they've gotten rid of the Safari Zone and replaced it with the Friend Safari. So you have different sections that are kind of catered to different types of Pokemon. And then you have friends that kind of represent each one of those types.
Okay.
So based on your friends, you can catch different kind of Pokemon that you usually would not catch in the game normally. And they're all different types. And the beauty of it is, too, is if you
how
go
does
to...
it decide what type the zone
Well,
is?
what it does is you actually have a list. It actually shows you the list, and you get to choose what section you want to go into. So if you want to catch strictly like water type, you say, okay, well, Nate has water type, so I'm going to go into that version of the Safari. And then there's up to three different Pokemon that are unique that you can catch in that given Safari. But it's broken down into a lot of different sections based on the more friends you have, the more Safari you can explore.
Okay.
And you actually battle the Pokemon yourself. There's no longer throw food at them, hit them
Okay.
with a rock,
So now you're
or
like
throw a ball at them.
fighting with your hands, like.
Exactly. Well, no, you use your Pokemon, actually. You can actually go in with your Pokemon.
I was like, what the hell? Now you start.
You don't even really need to. Most of the time, I've just thrown my Ultra Balls. Because you actually bring all of your balls with you.
Okay. You bring all
You
your
stay,
balls.
You,
Bring
you
your
stay
balls,
ballsy.
boy.
You stay ballsy.
You're going balls deep in that area.
And you kind of just go from there. And What's even better though is for people who want hidden natures, you don't have to go through the whole online thing, which was kind of difficult for some people just to get on, not to actually use. But now, if one of your friends are on the same time you're on, and you happen to go in the friend safari while they're online, anything you find actually has a chance of either being shiny or having a hidden nature. And actually, the chance of it being hidden nature exponentially just kind of just shoots up. It's
Okay.
for the longer they're on.
Okay. Cool.
So that's probably another good feature, but that's post game. And of course, Pokebank and Poketransfer, but unfortunately, we're still not getting that until December 27th. But I'm gonna end up wiping out my entire save and starting new and turning EXP share off to roll with my team.
Transfer over.
Exactly.
Get that stuff going.
Speaking of which, if you could have a team of 6 Pokemon, any of the 6 Pokemon that, with the exception of legendaries, no legendaries,
Yeah.
what 6 would you guys have? Starting with you, Nate.
Oh, jeez. This is like such an intense conversation right here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Pikachu, Pika Nurse, Pika. I don't know.
I did that on purpose. All right,
Wait,
Mark,
yeah.
your top 6.
Yeah. What the hell would I use? I would have a Kingler. That's for certain. I would
Wow.
probably have. Yeah, Kingler is my favorite Pokemon, so that's why. And I would have probably Alakazam. And then I would say a Blastoise. What the hell would I else have? I really like the. I know it's not really that useful of Pokemon, but I really like Diggersby in this new one, the bunny.
Diggersby actually looks really cool. I mean, it being normal ground was interesting,
Yeah.
and actually had a pretty large move pool to work with.
Unfortunately, I didn't have much use for it in the whole because you didn't
No.
really end up meeting where it would be useful. Unfortunately.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't going to be that
Yeah.
helpful, with the exception of maybe against the Fire Elite Four. Even then, there's something better you probably could have used.
Yeah, and I would also say I probably would have Typhlosion, and what the hell would be my last one? We just say Kabutops.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, Gary. I mean, John.
Yeah.
What would you be your team?
Obviously, with that little reference, yeah, I'm kind of a big fan of the green or blue reference to the original manga style of Pokemon. I'd have to say, if I could pick any team, it didn't really matter, whatever it was, I'd have to put in Arcanine on there just because he's like flat out my favorite. I really like Greninja. He kind of really grew on me in this game. So I'd probably have to put that little frog ninja dude in there. I thought he was cool. Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl's a pimp. I kind of like that. The fossil Pokemon always.
Especially
kind of
when
really
it goes
intriguing.
Mega.
Yeah, Mega Aerodactyl's OP. But it's to me, Aerodactyl also is just like a really good combination. Rock, which Rock is probably one of the best actual attack of types in the game. I've always been a huge fan also of Lucario, so I'd have to put that guy in there. Jolteon, and then I don't know, maybe like Umbreon, just because he was like my favorite Eevee evolution. So I think that's 6, right?
Pretty sure it was. All right, and I guess because I'm kind of the joke, as we established, of a knockoff of Red, you already know OP Snorlax
Yeah.
right off the bat. Because Snorlax is, of course, my favorite Pokemon, because I am a Snorlax, in a sense, because we're both fat, I'm both lazy, but if prodded enough, that ass. But yeah, I've always loved just the design of Snorlax. He would just seem like a funny Pokemon to me. He has, because he's normal type, a large move pool. He doesn't have a huge amount of weaknesses. The fact that he kind of just negates ghost attacks is nice too, and just a lot of the moves he can learn is just an overall good Pokemon. Besides Snorlax, I am really debating getting rid of Raichu. As much as I love Raichu as a Pokemon, he's just, at least in Pokemon XY, he doesn't seem to be very useful
That rat
in
needs
fights.
to go.
So I'm actually thinking about replacing him for Electrive, but that's something I'm still fighting with myself over, because Electrive is pretty beastly as an electric type. Funny enough, with the water type, I originally had Samurott, as I've said in a previous video involving Pokemon, but I'm swapping him out for Blastoise. Because the whole nostalgia, just because I've always loved Blastoise and thought he was awesome, especially now with some Mega Evolution, giant effing cannon coming out of his back and 2 on his arms. Just he had to be in there instead of Samurott.
Yeah.
Sceptile still is in there. Still like Sceptile, especially because he can learn Dragon Pulse, which is a nice little attack nobody expects. And just the versatility of the Sceptile. For Fire, Infernape, which funny enough, I always name Wukong. Which for some reason everybody keeps saying, oh, that's a League of Legends reference. I'm like, no. There's a Sun
But it's a
Wukong
League
way
of
before
Legends
League of Legends. Let's see, that's that. And instead of Hydreigon, because I used to have Hydreigon, now that it varies 4 times super effective against it, because it's super effective against Dark and Dragon, and just some of the other stuff going on, I kind of, especially after I had my ass handed to me by it, really like Goodra, the slime dragon thing. The fact that it has hydration, so whenever it's raining, it can go ahead and cure any status ailments at end turn. The fact that it learns Rain Dance, so it can make it rain on them. And then Rest. Those, I mean, just its ability and having those 2 moves, if it's trained properly, kind of makes it... Everything can be defeated. I'm not going to say it's unstoppable, but it makes it a huge pain in the ass. It almost becomes just a fight of endurance that you got to try and outlast it.
Yeah.
But it can just go into rest, heal, and then hydration just takes away the rest.
I really like the fairy type. Yes, the problem for me was I couldn't really find a fairy type that I actually enjoyed. Except the legendary. He fitted perfectly in my team, but I really don't want to use legendary because that's too overpowered. But he just, when I had 5 Pokemons, but I couldn't fill out my last bot because I just traded out Pokemon left, right, and center because I couldn't really fit. And when I got Cerny, it just fitted perfectly into what I already had. So I was like, okay, is there any else fairy type I could use? But no, none of the others really I really liked, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the future of Pokemon, like we discussed, hopefully they kind of continue on with something more. Especially with the introduction of the Pokebank, they're definitely going to be doing something more as far as they might come out with the Z, which is going to be bullshit. Because they should have just stuck with XY, but they always have to make that third one to make extra money and just include something that may not have been in the other ones. But hopefully they're going to, actually more than likely, again, with the inclusion of Pokebank, going to be making another one in the future. Hopefully not something too soon, though.
Hope one that isn't rushed.
Absolutely. I think that's really about it, unless there's anything you guys would like to bring up that I may have missed.
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I also think I'm good. I really liked I really liked the new Pokemons in additions in this version. I haven't really been interested in most of the other Pokemons in the other games, so the new additions in this one was really interesting. So
They had some good ones.
Yeah.
They really did. Some interesting type choices for the dual types. Some even standard types were really cool. Just overall, I probably like a lot of the additions than a lot of the other previous games that have decided to just bring up new Pokemon.
I will admit it. I kind of really like the Megas, even if I'd never really utilized them. I just it's what we had talked about beforehand, kind of off stream. Is a lot of them were kind of drawn up because it was fan service, and honestly,
It really was.
I fell
And of
right
course,
into it.
Of course, there's the whole Digimon joke too.
Yeah.
You're digivolving your
Hell
Pokemon.
yeah.
Or even remember when it was first announced, and all of a sudden they were just rolling out with one mega after another after another.
Yeah.
Like, what is everybody gonna get a mega? It becomes like a
You
whole
get a
Oprah
mega.
thing. You get a mega, and you get a mega. Everybody gets megas.
Yeah.
It is.
You really didn't need Mega Evolutions, unfortunately,
No,
because the game was so
it was
easy.
there.
So that's kind of annoying. It would have mattered more if you were closer level, probably.
Yeah.
That's one thing again, I'm new to this, but I can honestly say that unless they do something like drastically different with the next Pokemon, that for me, it kind of, I get that feeling of like Call of Duty. Like, I feel like the next Pokemon is going to be like kind of similar, but kind of like what you're talking about, that they probably inevitably come out with like Pokemon Z. Like, that would be the one that, like, if they did that, they have to put out 2 Pokemon, like X and Y. Well, if they come out with Z and actually had one that was more like, I don't want to, and again, not in the sense of like just mature content, but a more adult-oriented Pokemon, like if they did that, like, again, just add more depth to it. Like, I don't see myself buying, you know, a couple of more Pokemon by doing really just the same thing over and over again with a couple of subtle changes. That's why I got burned out on Call of Duty and so many other games. And again, I'm new to the series. I don't have that nostalgic feeling with it. So for me, honestly, when the new Pokemon does come out, if it's not like a big drastic change, like even Assassin's Creed, I can honestly say I'll probably set that one out because
It's not going to be, at least because they always come out with a third version, which the third version is practically just the 2 versions combined.
But there's not a lot of
with a little
differences
bit more
between
content.
these two.
I want
even
to point
storyline
something.
Purposes.
Yeah. I want to point
if
something
they,
out.
If they do a Z, the only thing I can think of is if they actually do what everyone really wanted, which is a connection to regions. That's the only thing that I can think of them doing Z.
They're more likely not going to do that.
No, they
as
probably
far as
won't,
a new game, they might, but I don't think they'd do so if they come out with Z. But Mark, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, interesting fact you've seen in Japan, it's mostly adults and older teenagers that have bought Pokemon X and Y. It's not children who have bought it in Japan, which I find really interesting. So, I mean, that's one, like, maybe one audience that could help it out, maybe get a more mature one at some point.
While playing Pokemon, I felt like I was watching like a DreamWorks movie. Like, it definitely, you know, on the surface, it's intended for kids. But if you really pay attention to, like, what's going on, like you were saying, there's references in the other games that was, like, you know, kind of risque and stuff, like, you know, even like with the DreamWorks movies, you can see that. So to me, it just, again, as an outsider looking in, I feel like the series is kind of like struggling to know what kind of identity it really needs to go for. It doesn't need to really be the kid-oriented game, or should they push a little bit further and get, you know, a little bit more hardcore RPG thrown in there? Because I can honestly say, like what you said, like a couple of weeks ago, like if they actually put like Pokemon on like Wii U, that would be a game changer. I think like if they made a console version of Pokemon and they like had like, you know, your typical like hardcore RPG elements thrown into that, I can honestly say, like, if they would do something like that, I would be all into that. Kind of in the same sense of, like, where you've seen, what was it called? Ni no Kuni. I mean, I know they're, like, different, but, I mean, in the same sense of where you're gathering.
Yeah, I told you it'd be funny because you like that, and the gameplay's not... Well, I wouldn't say gameplay, but the mechanics are, in a sense, a lot alike.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool and make the kind of those Pokemon maybe have, and you do that, they can have so much more moves. If you're doing like an RPG style, then they can not forget their moves. And
exactly,
it would be
they'd have more than just 4, and you could go ahead and just set up how you want to.
Because that's one thing that annoys me, because I'm a person who doesn't really care for like when I reach 100. So I would like to do more moves, have more moves than just 4. And
Well,
that's
I know part of the reason is because it's strategy. They really want you to pick and choose what you have and really think about how you want your Pokemon to be set
I
up.
just
But at the
feel
same
like
time, it
4
would
is
be
too-
nice to have just more than 4.
4
I can definitely see
I-
what you're going with that.
Yeah, 4 is too little for me. At least just having one more would make the world. That would be. I just say, oh, when I look at my move set, I always want one more move into this, and then he would be perfect.
At least have 5.
Yeah,
I halfway thought when they were talking about originally when they were talking about Mega Evolution that those Pokemon when they transformed into their Mega form were even going to have like a special 1 or 2
Transformation
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah, transformation not only moves at that point in time, which
Which
kind
was
of would have been
weird
cool.
because the way they showed it made it seem like that's the way it was going to be.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I guess that really just wraps it up. Nate, you'll actually probably find at least a small chunk of what you're looking for. It was kind of discussed in the spoilers, but there will be definitely something a little bit more mature. It'll be, unfortunately, in a very short burst.
Right, and I mean, it doesn't even like necessarily have to be like, oh, this was intended for adults. Just, I mean, more just complex
No, I mean more
mechanics.
mature in as far as the subject matter, not so
Yeah.
much like adults.
Right, but I mean, it could still. I don't mind playing as a kid going around on the journey and stuff. I'm just talking about like, I guess mature is a bad way of saying it. It's more like complex mechanics, like you're saying, having more than 4 powers or 4 moves for each Pokemon. Because I mean, you think about like how many different types are there now? Plus they added fairies. It's like,
yeah.
They give you so much, but then they're like, well, you only can do this. It's
Yeah,
like,
you want a little bit more versatility. That's
yeah,
what you're looking
exactly.
for. You just want more versatility.
Yeah, and I also think having at least the older games like Pokemon games, being that it's harder to level up your Pokemon and harder to do those sort of thing, it feels like much more immersed in it because it's every part matters more, and I think that masked how this is all about only the Pokemon battling. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel with this game being so easy, you miss the the biggest part of the reason why you play these games. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, if they would just up or have at least 2 difficulty settings, I don't know how hard that is.
Or even just lengthen it. I mean, there's quite a
Yeah.
few things that they could have really done differently that would have made it a lot better. But I think we can all agree that Pokemon X and Y is probably their greatest one to date, and it's still a great game despite quite a few different flaws that it has.
I
Greatest
can't agree with
introduction.
greatest to date, but I can say it's a great game.
Greatest introduction Pokemon game, I think,
Yes.
ever.
That's fair enough too. Nate has no comments to say. It's
No,
Pokemon.
I mean, like I said, I definitely enjoy it. I'm not, I don't want to come off like I'm hating on it or anything like that, because I mean, I can definitely see the appeal of it, but I also know, what kind of gamer I am, and
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
No, I'm just-
You're more of a
God,
you're more of a gamer than
you
we
guys
are.
have
You're
these
elitist.
like if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, I have to be like truly captivated. I have to be. Yeah, I mean, a challenge is a big part of that as well. So I mean, if I'm reading through doing the same thing.
It kind of lacked in that department. Like I said, I definitely agree with the rest of you on that. As much as I like the full 3D, the character creation, because everybody knows I'm a sucker for that. Even Nate thinks I'm narcissistic for it. And just some of that stuff. It made it fun, but yeah, I could definitely, like I said, the story, as we all kind of agreed, kind of fell short. There was a huge opportunity that was kind of missed, and they definitely can improve on it, hopefully in the future. But we'll see. So appreciate having you guys on. Everybody who's watching, Rainbow and Doorman, who's gonna go ahead and God knows how many different screen caps he has of me because I'm a very animated Italian person. So it's very easy to come up with funny face pictures.
Boobity bobbity boobity boobity.
So thanks again for joining me, guys. I appreciate your input, especially Nate, because I know you're new to this, so I kind of just put you on the spot.
So good. So good.
And make sure to go ahead and check out Nate's channel. Yeah, I actually have his right Twitter account this time. It's Wise Nate. You can see him on Twitter. Or Kane Bringing the Pain, or Kane Bringing the Game. Both of his YouTube accounts. One, he's more famous for hating on DSP. The other one, he plays video games.
Well, funnily enough, the Twitter account he screwed up was his own.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's actually AMS Advance, but I think it's a rule. I always have to screw up at least one Twitter account. Make sure to check out MarkCrownStory on Twitter, as well as MarkCrownStories on YouTube. You can see a lot of great cooking videos, the amazing Crown Cast, which I've been on, some gameplay on that channel. Then you have you have another gameplay channel that you do with your sister.
Yeah, KOC and Crown, which I'm bad at
make sure-
uploading at, so we try.
Still check it out. It shows like the Saints Row video is hilarious. John just plays League of Legends all day. Maybe he'll have a Twitch account.
Not all
so.
day. But no, thanks for having me on. Thanks.
Hey, anytime. All right. So again, thanks everybody for joining, and until next time.